Okay. We are all here. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, we've got a full screen this morning. This is great. We have a really great panel. I'm excited to have this conversation. This morning, we're going to talk about work culture, which is kind of a broad topic, but I think where we want to head with this is just how, we've all been we're 7 months into COVID, and the workplace has changed. The workplace is kind of, for most people, home. And so there's a whole interesting mind shift that has gone on, I think, in society in general with regard to how do we accommodate working from home? How do we obviously have to accommodate in working from home. You're accommodating people's personal lives, melding really intensely with work. And so I think in some cases it's been really eye-opening for society in general to have been almost given permission to embrace really bringing your personal life into the workspace. And I think in a lot of ways it's been positive. It's given us the freedom to acknowledge the fact that all of these things interact all the time. And maybe before, when we were maybe on a different pace of life and a different treadmill, we kept them too separate. And that created a lot of stress for people. Not to say that there's not stress now, but I think we're more free to even talk about the stresses of melding the two. So with that kind of really broad explanation of what we're going to talk about, I'd like to introduce my panel and introduce myself. I'm Laurie Supinski with Stark Garden. And Murphy Ackerman is here from Stark Garden as well. She's our technical guru. But I'll go around the screen here, and we have Lisa Knight from Public Thread. We have Devon Higgins from PhotoUp. We have Jonathan Jelks, who is with so many different things, Ambiance and Motu, where is he? And GRUSA. And we have Ken Baer from the Bridge Street Market. So all really dynamic people with some really interesting backgrounds and great opportunities to have this discussion. So what I think I'll do is start off by having everybody just give sort of a little bit of background of yourself, what you're doing, what you're working on, and then we'll kind of jump into, how it is right now with, the melding of all those things. So why don't we start out with Lisa?
Yay, good morning, everybody. So a little bit about myself, man. I am currently the COO over at Public Thread. I formerly was working for the Urban League, Vice President, Chief Operations Officer, there for 8 years. And mother, singer, actress, consultant, trainer, man, you name it, just about, gardener, creator of projects and partnerships, and just doing a lot of things. So I've been doing some consulting work even during this time. It just, like you said, everything has shifted and pivoted. I also am a 100% minority female-owned concrete business owner as well, and so doing a lot of things in the community, really trying to keep people on track, trying to keep people happy and healthy, and have just some conversations that will help support the mental health and well-being of my friends and neighbors and partners and community members, all of that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit, just for people who don't know anything about Public Thread or don't know enough about Public Thread, can you just kind of explain, tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So Public Thread is an upcycling textile business. So what we do there is really divert textile from the landfill, and then we create product around that. Textiles is the second largest polluter in the world behind oil and gas. And so there's a lot that happens in that space. And so the business was started by Janae Brower, and has been in business for going on 5 years. We in March, early March, began to pivot, and we're the first ones here in Michigan, actually, that started making masks for our community. And it was really interesting because we started, prototyping what that should look like, and the sizing and what materials need to be used. And we talked to a lot of people out in the community, in the medical field, to make sure that we were making a quality product. And then we made all of these masks, and they were sitting there. And we're like, where are the people? What's going to happen? Nobody's buying masks. And then people started picking up on it. And then it was like the floodgates opened. So that was just a thing that we pivoted to do. We have a number of other products, but another part of the foundation of what we do is really trying to speak into environmental and social justice issues that impact our community, especially people who are impacted negatively from the social justice issues that we're dealing with, and the marginalization and the disparities that exist in our communities for people to be able to work, and be able to be paid a living wage for doing that work. So we don't ship anything overseas to be made by pennies in some back room, dark, nasty warehouse when people are not treated properly and humanely. We do all that work right here in our shop. And so we pay our workers a living wage to begin to create and help produce products that actually extend the life cycle of something that was getting ready to be thrown into the trash. And also working on doing a number of different things in the space, running a industrial sewing program to begin to train people to go into living wage jobs and be able to continue to keep that work here in our country. So there's a number of things that we have on the plate that we're bringing to the forefront, and we're really excited about the things that we're going to be able to do in this community, and to be able to be a voice in our community for change.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. There's a couple of things I want to come back to, but
okay.
Let's go on to Devon with PhotoUp.
Yeah. Hey there, I'm Devon Higgins. I'm the CMO of PhotoUp. PhotoUp is a real estate photo editing company. So what we do is we provide a scalable solution for photographers who primarily shoot real estate day in and day out to be able to send us their photos. And then we have a big team of photo editors and full-time employees that are over in the Philippines. So we have about 200 employees over there that are living in the Philippines on an island called Cebu, which is the second largest city in the Philippines. And then we have myself and another colleague here in Grand Rapids. And then we also have our CEO who's over in Oregon and our COO who's up in Toronto, Canada. So very much a remote team, a big team over in the Philippines. And the reason that we're over there is, one, yes, because of cost savings, because again, photo editing is not a high margin business. Not a lot of folks over here in the US do that type of work. But two is the social side. We know from working and being over there and being part of that community that high quality jobs with the option for upward mobility and just in the creative field are few and far between. And the folks over there, typically, if you're coming out of school or looking for a job, you don't find anything worthwhile or paying highly. You're either going to go ahead and work at your family's kind of shop on the side of the road, potentially, work in kind of the labor industry, or go into an overseas foreign worker program where you're treated poorly, paid pretty poorly, and just not a good overall experience for yourself and for the country. Pulling out the best and the brightest folks to go work overseas is what they call brain drain. So our goal with PhotoUp is to provide young, creative, high-paying, good jobs to those folks who are coming out of school and give them a step up to be able to, one, either stay with PhotoUp long-term or be able to use us as a launch pad to kind of begin their career in and around the country of the Philippines. So, yeah.
And I'm just going to mention that Devon is usually he's a member of Start Garden, so he usually is working out of our Start Garden space, and we see him there at home today. So we're anxious to get back into our space as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ken.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning, Laurie and panel. My name is Ken Bear. New to Grand Rapids. I consider myself a baby here. I've been here 3 years now. Joined a year before we opened Bridge Street Market. I kind of helped build out the marketing and HR strategies that you see in the store now. Really, store manager of Bridge Street Market. It's a neighborhood grocery store. With the pandemic and everything going on, we wanted to try to do some different things in the industry with this format. And with the pandemic, obviously that has created a whole nother world of change that the team has been going through. So pretty excited to have some conversation, because one thing we've learned, and one thing everybody knows, that change is inevitable. And with that change, how do we try to get proactive against some of those things and kind of see what's coming a little bit. So just really excited to participate in the call today.
Yeah. So, Ken, you, the whole concept of the Bridge Street Market being sort of like an urban footprint for Meijer, you've taken that concept and you're opening other locations in some other cities, which I think is really, it's fabulous. But how we connected is that the Bridge Street Market is really supportive of local entrepreneurs, and really encouraging and encourages entrepreneurs to be able to have a place to sell their locally made products and to showcase that. So it's been really great to work with Ken, and they've been so helpful in even educating new startup food businesses, and maybe not even food, because I know, Lisa, that they sell goods from Public Thread. But encouraging entrepreneurs to take that leap and to be able to showcase their stuff in a retail location. And Ken's been really gracious, and his team, with helping entrepreneurs learn what that means and what that process is and the things they have to be prepared to be able to do to get into that retail opportunity.
Yeah, Laurie, one of our, just to kind of follow up on that, one of our keys is local, right? And it's not, we're a smaller store, a smaller footprint. Our goal was to not write a check and be the donator of a community, but to be a participator, and for the team to be out there engaging the community. The local piece has been a blast, right? If you walk through the store, it's our treasure hunt, right? So it's an opportunity to tie in and not just sell product, but really help those vendors. My goal is, and hopefully nobody from Meijer is watching this, but my goal is, one of these days, one of our local vendors is going to be in every Walmart across the country. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to help those vendors grow out of a farmer's market into a distributor, and so on and so on. And there's a lot of little nuances that come with that. So it's been exciting so far, and we're up to over 4,000 local items now. So it's been very, very successful, and I think it's one of the wins of this format for sure.
Yeah. Great. Jonathan.
I am here.
I know you've been back and forth.
Yeah. I'm at Start Garden, actually, in the vault.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
That's your office.
Yeah, we've made a home here, and we've been appreciative.
So tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, doing a little bit of everything. Serial entrepreneur is so cliche now, but that's kind of the hat that we wear. Obviously, Ambiance GR is our bar that has been on hold for the past 7 or so months, but we're really excited to get that establishment open. We think we have a lot to contribute to the DNA of downtown Grand Rapids as far as live entertainment goes, and some food options that aren't currently available. I'm also the co-founder of Motu Viget Spirits. It's a spirits company. We have 2 products. We have a sparkling brew that's Michigan made out of Kalamazoo, and we have a vodka that's made here in Grand Rapids at a local distillery. And those are doing really well for us. Actually, during the pandemic, I've always heard the rumors about alcohol being recession proof, and it's kind of proven to be true. So people are still enjoying their cocktails and whatnot. So we've been able to expand the business, which is one of the more exciting aspects of growth for our business portfolio. Actually, and I have to give kudos to Ken because we started off with our spirits being in Bridge Street Market, but we kind of just solidified a landmark deal with Meijer, and we're in over 60 stores in the Meijer portfolio now. So we're really, really excited about the growth and the opportunity, especially being an African American owned business and in business with Meijer, which is one of the biggest, obviously, grocers in the country. Also, the Midwest Tech Project, which is our initiative to connect people of color to the tech talent pipeline. Underserved communities are pervasive in technology. Usually, it's people from one crew, a homogenous community that kind of gets into those jobs. And as we look to solve some of the disparities and look to address some of the poverty and the inequities in society, we take a solutions-based approach. And looking at what the workforce of the future is going to be is what we kind of hang our hat on there. And so we wanted to be strategic about making sure that we help people to get placed in that industry. And so we've been able to mentor a ton of kids in our 5 years of operation. Start Garden has been a good partner to us, OST, Atomic Object, entities like that. And so it's been really fun and rewarding to see us being able to help engineer kids getting into, everything from artificial intelligence to cybersecurity. And like now some of our kids are grown-ups and, they've got better jobs than I do. And then GRUSA Apparel, I have a ton of things going on, and I don't know why I'm doing all this stuff, so you guys have to bear with me. But GRUSA Apparel is our local apparel company, and we make clothes with Grand Rapids on it and try to make us look cool and you look cool, and just support the community, pay homage to the community that has given so much to us. So those are some of the ventures I'm involved with.
That's amazing. You are definitely the definition of a serial entrepreneur.
Thank you.
That's okay to say that. So I think what I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about is, as all of you are building teams. I mean, all of you have talked about, your teams of people, and we're talking about the ability to work from home and the shifting sort of dynamics in the workplace, but clearly there are challenges. Like at Public Thread, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I think people are not working from home. I think, Devon, you and I had a little bit of a conversation about the fact that some of your team in the Philippines are not able to work from home. There's internet connectivity issues and things that have to be addressed. Ken, you are in a business that was always considered essential. And so your team has been, coming into the office, so to speak, and never had the ability to stay home. And then Jonathan, I mean, I think, your teams, you have different teams. And so, you've been continuing to work and do things without, and I'm, I don't think you really, you haven't had, like, you have Start Garden as a space, but your teams are kind of all over working no matter what. So for you, the slowdown hasn't necessarily been the work. It's just been the fact that, that the world has slowed down. So maybe we can talk a little bit about, how that dynamic has impacted everybody's abilities to move forward.
One of the things, Laurie, that I've said to people when this all started is, I kept hearing the word recalibrate, right? Recalibrate. Challenge has always happened, you know, before pandemic, now in a pandemic. I think it has provided, you know, unfortunately for those souls that departed from here because of that, is very heartbreaking. However, for those of us that are still here, I think it provided an opportunity for us to step back and look at things differently and to begin to approach life differently, because we are in a space, as we said before we even got live, that we don't have control, right? We do not know what's going to happen next year. Some of us try to plan out, you know, our 3 to 5 year plans and figure out, you know, what we're going to do and how we're going to launch things and how we're going to market and what are our new strategies. And we can sit and still plan those things, but we really have no idea how that's going to shift. Whereas before we could watch the market and we could see what's going on in the governmental space and, you know, in politics, and now it's just kind of somebody threw up a basket of confetti and stuff is floating and flying all over the place, and we're just trying to figure out where it's going to land and get our little cup full of something that we can hold on to. But I think it's given us the opportunity also to be creative in our minds and think about different ways to access the tools that we need, to engage with people and continue to move forward and navigate this new landscape. So for me, there was never a shutdown, right? I was in March, I was still working for the Urban League. And so I was trying to figure out ways that we could continue to engage with community and make sure that our community members were safe and that they had access to PPE, and how could we provide services and things to those community members that are marginalized and don't have access to things, because one of the things that we know, that African Americans were dying at a higher rate of anyone, however, represent a smaller part of the population. And so that was very interesting. And so we had to think that way. So then moving into the space of public threat, it's like, how can we engage with community and make sure that they're getting this? So some of the first masks we had, we were riding around with masks in our cars, and I would drive down the street and see people walking around without masks and give them masks. And we would go to the corner stores and make sure that people had PPE, and the stores that are in the heart of the urban core, making sure that those people had the things that they needed, and the churches and the schools and the nonprofit organizations, all of those things. But it also then allowed us to really think about some of the things that we wanted to do futuristically. So we just released a new collection called the Public Transit Collection.
I saw that.
And it's really cool. As we were prototyping, everybody wanted to take everything, and we were fighting over a few of those pieces because they were really cool. But just thinking about how those products, you know, impact the environment, and how people need things to get around, right? How does that look? They're carrying all of their stuff when they go from one place to another. How do these products continue with a life cycle that will go on for more years, as opposed to impacting our environment? Because that is a hot topic right now. It is huge, and we really need to think about it. We haven't been polluting the atmosphere as much because we haven't been driving as much, right? But let's think about the other things that are impacting our lives, and how can we do the best possible work for each other? And I think now is one of the best opportunities that we've ever had to really dig in and see what we have to offer to ourselves, to our community, and to our country.
Yeah. You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking of some things here, and I think as we talk about everybody's teams and the people that are working with you and for you, because we have had to take a step back, and I think we're reevaluating a lot of things. I think it's really critically important to consider who's on your team, because everybody sort of has to be flexible. Everybody has to be creative. And I think all of you work, or, you know, are representing organizations where your people and your teams are really passionate about the mission of what you're doing. And I think, you know, it's just proven that, you kind of have to have that. And that's something I think maybe all of you can address a little bit.
Laurie, I'd love to jump in, and hopefully I can say it 10 times today, but my team has just been amazing here, right? I mean, this store wouldn't be what it is without the people and the grocery business. And I think every one of these, speakers on here realizes that, we're in a people business. We just happen to sell food in my particular space, right? So to have the group that we have, the mission that we had in the beginning of Bridge Street Market was to be that neighborhood grocery store and to be a part of the community and however we could react to the community. We have the ability in this format to listen and then make decisions internally. So our store has full autonomy over operations and merchandising, and we can make calls without having to go up, through a corporate chain, so to speak. So that's given us a lot of flexibility to listen and then react. But when this all hit, there's a lot of instances where our world didn't really change; it just intensified. I mean, Lisa kind of said, step back a little bit. I think we haven't hit that point yet because we all, in a weird way, had to kind of step up, right? The team absolutely just knocked it out of the park. I mean, there was a lot of anxiety about, at the beginning of this thing, right? I mean, I'm looking at, thinking about public thread. We had to pull all our usable bags, right? I mean, the 21st of Earth Day in April, our plan was to go single use, get rid of single use, and just go, 100-use plastic bags and different recyclable products. And obviously, that all got pulled out from underneath us. Like Lisa mentioned, that plan didn't go very far. But for the team to step up and really, I believe we were essential, but I don't know if the community really believed we were essential. And we're just a grocery store, and you just work at the grocery store, and all of a sudden, the pride of being able to support the local community and provide, toilet paper when we had it, and just the basic necessities, really energized the team, and they came together and drove what I can't imagine without the team. So it's awesome to see some of those beginning things that we wanted that were very utopian come to full fruition when we needed to, right? None of my team backed out and said, I'm out, right? Everyone was in.
Yeah.
And it was, it's really, I can't use the words that I have to my team that what they got us through and we're still going through, right? And we still potentially could go through. So, just like Lisa talked about, we're trying to, now, what does the next 2 months look like with cold and flu? And what does, how is that going to impact morale? And I got the sniffles. Do I have COVID? Or what do I got to do? And all of those things that create the anxiety. When can we bring usable bags back? I just shot a note to Janae yesterday saying, let's bring them back. Let's go. I mean, so there's a lot of those kind of things that I think we're probably trailing a little bit because we haven't had so much of that time to step back and really digest a lot of this yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ken. I mean, it's spot on. When we started to make these masks, there were 4 or 5 people in the shop. And, we'd get, 50 or 100 or 20, and our community members started buying for their families. But then we started getting orders for 1,000, 5,000, 8,000. And it was really interesting because my sister was driving a truck and the company she was driving ended up closing their shops. Or their doors. And so she ended up coming home. And then my daughter lived in Chicago and the company that she was working for shut down. And so she ended up coming home for a while. And my son was away at college. And of course, he came home for a while. So I was like, listen, we got work to do and I need you guys in there to do it. So I had, full on family members. My daughter-in-law was there as well. And these people they're learning how to sew and they're learning the whole production process in there at the same time. And then I had a South African friend that I knew was a seamstress and we brought her in there. And all of this still knowing that we had to make sure we take safety precautions, that we watched out for other people and made sure that it was a safe space. And then my daughter called her friend and her friend asked her mom. And so we ended up with 25, almost 30 people in there working, trying to get these orders together. But I mean, people would take material home to cut the material, right?
Wow.
And to put the things together, to cut the nose pieces that we needed to put in there, because it was such a vital necessity. But we worked together as a group to make sure that people's needs were met. And even with the kid, we had that box of bags sitting there, and it was like, what's gonna happen with this? But it is necessary to have those people and those teams around you. And I think you said something earlier, Laurie, there's a biblical term that came, that iron sharpens iron. And this is a time like never before that we need people that are going to pour into you, people that are going to support you, people that are going to help, lift you up and help you have a sense of safety in this time. Because there are people that I know right now that I thought were, really strong people, and they were real fighters, and they were out there, that are wondering if they're suffering from depression right now.
Yeah.
Right. And still trying to fight through. And we have to be able to help one another get through this and to support one another, because we got work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Devon, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges with your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of are set up a bit differently, right? We have our whole executive team over here in the US, and our big team that manages all operations, all development, all design for our company. And we're very much a tech-based business. That's all over in the Philippines. So when COVID hit, we had to really look at not just how we communicate, because that's always been kind of remote, and we've been using Skype and different tools and mediums for doing that. But just operationally, how do we do things? And we had to make a call very early on for the team over in the Philippines to say, hey, guys, working in the office, we don't think that that's going to be a viable solution moving forward, just from what we're seeing over here in the US, how things are going, what other countries are doing, and knowing that the Philippines has a very strict government and can really lock things down within really a couple of hours. So we made the call very early on to say, hey, we need to come up with a game plan to take our 200 employees that are in the office working 3 shifts out of the day, all working off of about 100 workstations, and get all of those assets remote. So take all of these workstations, put them into homes of our employees that don't necessarily have internet at home, right? Have never maybe had a workstation at home, might live 5, 10, 20, 50 miles away from the office up in the mountains, right? With little access to even good power and electricity. So that was our biggest challenge. We ended up renting a couple of big U-Haul vans over there and just driving workstations around to our employees' homes, getting them set up in their homes, and even buying them remote internet for those of them that didn't have it. I believe we went around the entire island of Cebu and bought out every single electronics store of their mobile internet routers, just so we had the ability to stay operational. We did that preemptively. We did that with obviously the help of our team. There's no way that we could have done any of that with the leadership that we have over in the Philippines. And those folks that helped us do that are folks that have been with us since the beginning. The cool thing about what we've been able to build over there is our executive team over there. The leaders, the directors, the managers that have been with us some 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, and have grown up with us, and are all young folks leading young folks. And the average age of an employee at PhotoUp is around 26, 27. So we've got a bunch of under 30-year-olds trying to figure this out and going through their first pandemic and trying to lead their families and their teams and their culture, and kind of putting that at the forefront to make sure that we stay up and running. So we had to have a lot of trust in the folks that are leading the team over there to be able to do this, to execute this, and with a lot of trust in us to say, hey, you know what, guys, nothing is really shut down yet, but we see this coming. We have to trust us that things are going to get maybe worse before they get better. And luckily, we made that move. The Philippine government shut things down, gave people about a 48-hour window to say, hey, you cannot come into work. The only way that you can start traveling is with a certified ticket from the government saying that you're allowed to leave your house or leave your neighborhood. So we made that call. We saw a lot of other companies that are in our same industry have to shut down completely because they were either in the same areas that we were or in other developing nations that just could not get back to their office, could not get to their assets in a or in a office environment, and literally had to shut doors. So we were one of the only ones in our industry, at least, that was able to survive because of kind of the foresight that not only we had on this side, but the execution that was able to be performed by the team over there. So team is huge for us. Now remote, we've been used to it over on this side. This is something completely new for the team over in the Philippines. Remote work doesn't really exist, right? If you're working for an employer over in the Philippines, you're going into an office or you're doing remote freelance work at home. But there's not much in between. So this is a completely different culture shift, operational shift, everything for us. The blessing was we were going through some of that as everything was locking down over here. So a lot of grace was given to us early on, which was very nice by our clients, which primarily are US based. But as we've kept going, the Philippines has continued to stay locked down as we over here begin to open up. And some of these little operational issues that we've had, slow internet, rolling blackouts, communication issues, right? All of that kind of continues to persist as we stay locked down over in the Philippines, but things are opening up here. And that grace and that patience is wearing pretty thin on our end, or from our clients giving to us. So we're now trying to figure out ways that we can safely get back into the office. We started to bring a few folks back with some of those government permits. We've also instilled a couple of different pretty cool programs for helping our employees out in terms of transportation. The one thing that got shut down and still hasn't reopened is public transportation. That's how 90% of people get around in the Philippines. Because of government restrictions, because of social distancing, some of those public transportation companies and people who are just driving their own vehicles to transport people around don't want to get in their car to pay for gas because they can't get enough money coming in. So we went out and we bought a van that's essentially a bus to go pick up our employees to be able to bring them safely into the office. And that's going to be able to bring about maybe 20 to 30 people in per day. But we know we need more than that. So we actually had to go buy a fleet of motorcycles. So with that, we're actually then kind of doing a lease to own program with our employees who don't have transportation, but have been with us long enough and say, hey, you know what, we're going to pay for half of this motorcycle if you help us pay that off over the course of the next 1, 2, 3 years, whatever that payment plan is, and you're going to actually own that motorcycle at the end of that road. So that's a pretty cool thing that we've instilled. And again, just cool opportunities that have come up from COVID and trying to find these little silver linings that we say, hey, can we have a positive impact out of something that's been so detrimental to so many people? But can we find kind of that shining light to help somebody out, to help them get through this, to actually provide them with a bigger asset that can help them with upward mobility at the end of the day. So yeah, I think we're excited about where we're going. It's been a heck of a ride doing all this remotely, right? We've been used to going over there a couple times a year as an executive team to see the team, to kind of set game plans, to get everything in place, to work on the ground with our team, right? These are the people that run our business. And now having to go through all of that remotely and knowing that there's probably a good chance we're not going to be able to see our team face to face for at least maybe another year plus, that's tough, right? This is our business. This is their business. This is their livelihood. This is our livelihood. We're all in this together. And doing that completely remotely has added a new little wrinkle. But again, we're finding the positive out of the negative situation.
Wow, that's a great story. I love that.
Yeah, it was some tough times, a lot of late nights, a lot of 2, 3 a.m. phone calls over to the Philippines to kind of get everything set up. But again, the testament to the team. We come up with a game plan. We told them, they bought in, they executed. We didn't lose any employees over the whole thing. We're now bringing people back into the office, getting people excited about coming back into work, building that culture again that we had. So yeah, I think overall it's been a crazy, wild, but hopefully positive experience out of this whole thing for everyone. Nobody's gotten sick, which has been huge, and knock on wood that nobody does. But yeah, we've done really well so far. Yeah,
that's awesome. Jonathan, how have
Yes.
how have all your people been? How have all been motivated to keep going? I mean, I know you're motivated. That's clear.
I think
but
we've just found out what we're really made of. Entrepreneurship in general is, it's an eat what you kill, kind of thing. So I don't know. The best way I can liken our spirit to is I think the great Floyd Mayweather. He had a fight against a boxer, a Hall of Fame boxer named Sugar Shane Mosley. And in the second round, Sugar Shane hit Floyd Mayweather, the great Floyd Mayweather. I'm a lifelong Grand Rapidian, so we're proud of him. But hit him with a right, and it almost floored him. So one of the only times I saw Floyd, his knees buckle, and everybody around was, screaming, and they're thinking like Floyd is going to get knocked out. And then, Floyd went to the corner, got some good words from his team, and then got back in the fight, and he persisted to whoop Sugar Shane Mosley's butt every round after that. And it was, like a impeccable victory. It was one of the great, boxing matches that I've ever seen. And that's kind of how the pandemic hit us. We were caught flat-footed. I've been in a couple fights in my lifetime, and we were caught flat-footed. We were blindsided by the effect of it, initially thinking that it was going to be a couple weeks, maybe a month. Like, this is okay. We can sit back for a month and kind of just recharge, recalibrate, as Lisa said, pivot. That was the word that I heard that was unanimous during the beginning of the COVID-19 breakout. And so we were doing those things, and then, get back to business as usual. And that just didn't happen. From paying rent on, a bar that, cannot open, not being eligible for PPE dollars or some of the things that other small businesses and big businesses were able to access in order to help them weather the storm. We kind of just had to dig into our own pockets. We had to, utilize our savings. We had to be really smart and strategic to not dig bigger holes for ourselves. Mind you, we're doing this with a multitude of different ventures. Each of our ventures has its own characteristics. It has its, each of them, require a different level of focus and a different level of, strategy. And so it was overwhelming, at certain points. Not to the fact that we were going to give up, because, that's just not who we are. And, we found that out in the process. But, you get to talking to your fellow teammates and your co-founders a little bit more aggressively, a little bit more on edge. Family is, kicking and screaming in the background. Kids are home from school. It's just so many different challenges that, we were faced with as a group of investors and as a group of co-founders. And it's been fun though as an entrepreneur, because if you're an entrepreneur, a real one, it's a risky game anyway. You can kind of lose your shirt, if you're not careful at any time. And it's been, we like to think of ourselves as, these great adventurers and, people who are fearless, but, you really have to put the metal, to the floor and kind of see what you're made of in a time of crisis. And after we kind of calmed down and settled down a bit, we were able to find opportunities and silver linings to.
Oh. Oh no.
Am I there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We lost you for a second.
Yeah,
you're good.
Yeah, this is another thing I hate, the technical difficulties. But yeah, the silver linings. That's what we were able to find. And it's just been it's just been exasperating, exhausting, but also exhilarating is the best way. Like, this is the stuff that movies are made of. And we're just happy to be able to have survived, a lot of our business is interactive. We need to, kind of see people so that they can understand where we're coming from. People talk about how great it is to work from home, but one of the biggest challenges for us is not having that personal touch, not being able to sit down with somebody when you need to let them know you mean serious business and this is what needs to be executed. It's harder to do that digitally. It's harder to do that virtually. Also, a lot of things get lost.
There we go. Challenges doing things digitally. See, and
Lori,
ball.
I
Who
was
can
gonna say
blame
is,
the ball?
I was gonna say as Jonathan comes back, between Jonathan, Lisa, Devon, just the stories I hear, I mean, I could tell you 100 of those. It's pretty exciting to see the ingenuity and the innovation that these local vendors had to go through. If
Yeah.
it's from packaging donuts that they never had to package to doing all of these different things to keep going, right? No, there wasn't one company that just said, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
But we're done, right? They all said, okay, what can we do different? What can we do? And a lot of resources in the beginning. I mean, I was tickled to death because we were getting product from local vendors that no one else could get nationally because all these CPGs were struggling to get product out and all these things. So kudos to the local community and the local vendor community that this did not stop them or slow them down. I think it taught them to be more resilient, and it's just pretty exciting to see that they kept going and kept pushing hard.
Yeah. And Jonathan made a really good point about entrepreneurs. It's challenging, and yet everybody that's an entrepreneur, you all know that what you're doing is risky. There's never not a risk, and there's never you think you're in complete control, but there's a lot of ways in which you're not. So the ability to to do that pivot, to be creative, to push forward through adversity, and to have the team embrace that is pretty important. And I think it makes you maybe it makes people moving forward really think pretty long and hard about who your team is. Because you kind of see what people are made of by how they face challenges, and maybe turn those challenges into opportunities, or at least an opportunity to learn. Murphy,
Hey, Laurie.
yeah.
Hey, Laurie, I wanted to ask everybody, has everybody felt like they've been more productive working at home? I'm wondering if Devon and Public Threads, I'm wondering if people actually feel like they've been more productive working at home.
Well, I mean, here's the thing for me. Again, I'm the only reason I'm at home right now is because the doorbell would be going off on Public Thread, and that's all you would be hearing is ding, 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 ding. So it was easier for me to do this here this morning. But there was a lot of work that I did have to do before we got to that space. But the thing about me is, as soon as around 4:00 in the morning, my brain starts talking. It starts talking to me, telling me all the things I need to do. I get up, I kind of write my list out, and I'm going. I'm going at 150 miles an hour. Janae always yells at me because she's got 4 things going on at one time, and they'll think I'll be on my computer and I'll be doing stuff and I'll be in a meeting, and then I'll look up into, and say something in the midst of their meeting, and they all just turn and look at me because they thought I wasn't engaged, but I'm hearing everything that's going on. I'll have Zoom meetings going on. I'll have people coming in for appointments, and I'm doing all of this stuff. But that's kind of how I always have been. So for me, it's just keep it moving, right? You just got to keep it going. Now, every now and then, if I do have to be at home, my son, and if my sister is here, they have to make a special appearance in the screen that I'm in. But I'm very thankful, having 9 children, that my kids are grown. My youngest is 20. He'll be 21 in 2 weeks. And I didn't have to deal with that, with kids running around and screaming and all of that stuff. Woo, I am so grateful. So I give special kudos to all of you that have little ones running around. I will pray for you. If you need some support, let me know. I'll come drop a little something off for you. When they say when the world gives you lemons, make lemonade. I'll make you a lemon drop using Motu Viget.
I could take a couple lemon drops. Does Public Threads offer babysitting over there too? We got a couple we could send your way.
Well, we do have some extra warehouse space. We could just put them over there and shut the door.
Perfect.
They'll be okay.
No, I mean, in terms of productivity, Jonathan, I think my productivity really has maybe stayed the same and increased with being at home. It's more of I don't have the commute of going into the office and back to the office. I come downstairs and I'm here. I'm in the office. I've also been pulled away from family stuff. We have a 2-year-old who was out there watching Frozen. I think it's about done. She's about to probably freak out in a little bit. And then we've got a newborn that was just born a couple weeks ago. So like now my whole world's turned upside down. That's kind of a different thing. But as kind of COVID, thank you. But yeah, as COVID kind of hit, this was my little bunker in here, right? Like I was in here probably 15, 18 hours out of the day, like just making sure things were getting done, getting going. Like my wife will tell you, this is where I lived, right? I woke up in the morning, was down here. She was taking care. It was like we lived two separate worlds, which is, it just like, it was what it was. And now looking back at it, it's like, okay, trying to find ways, and I shouldn't have just cut myself off completely. And I've done a better job at letting those two worlds combine. My daughter will come in here and we'll just sit on the computer. She'll jump on Zoom calls with me. I'll put up dog videos and she'll watch on one screen as I'm doing work on the other, right? My wife has been a friggin' rock star to be able to handle that as I'm kind of locked away in here. So productivity, I think, has tried to stay up, but working at home, yeah, has its challenges, especially with the little ones running around. But yeah, you find a way to get through it. Everybody kind of pitches in. I found things that I can help with that my wife can't do. My wife has obviously taken the role of mom and helping out with kiddos more and more. And yeah, just trying to find different ways that we can kind of do things together. The good thing about my job, at least, is we're always kind of on. We have a team over in the Philippines that's on basically 24 hours, 6 days a week. Somebody's there. We have people who are on basically every time zone over here in the US. So there's always work to be done. There's always time. There's always things that can probably get done tomorrow too. That's what we've realized through this thing is nothing. There were certain things that were urgent early on that needed to get done now, but now it's okay. Does this email need to get answered, or does my crying daughter, or does my family that wants to go on a walk, does that take more precedence? And being able to kind of put things on a little bit of a perspective of what is more important right now in this immediate moment. And that's where I've taken a step back and been able to kind of, prioritize those a little bit more, which has been nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, Jonathan, I think I'll jump in here too. I think that, I know for us at Start Garden, we I feel like we've been really productive being remote. But, the honest answer to that is that it doesn't replace the in-person connectivity that you have when you're able to be with people. I mean, like Devon, you said, you're kind of facing the fact that you won't be able to go over and see your team, for a while. Yeah, you're working and we're working, but there's not really a replacement for that. I mean, humans are social beings, right? And a little bit of in-person connectivity is great, but I mean, technically, we're running on all 10 cylinders, so yeah.
Yeah, Laura, to add to Devon, I mean, I'm excited to kind of see how this does play out a little bit. I mean, I can't remiss, my wife was working at a corporate office and back at home, and we have a 20-month-old, and he did a great job recognizing her. I want to recognize my wife. Hopefully she's watching this at some point. But, the amazingness of her stepping up and being able to do her job and manage a baby. We now have our sister-in-law helping, so we're blessed there to have her helping out. But it is going to be interesting to see when that pendulum will kind of swing back, where, there was a clear-cut line where, hey, I'm off at the 8 to 5 is over. I can put this in a compartmental box and go back to kind of this family life. There has been those luxuries of melding those two, but I think it's going to take some time to really figure out how they meld, and when somebody get tired of going, okay, I feel like I'm on or connected all the time now, right? So that'll be the interesting part to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, definitely. That you can blend, but you do need some separation.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said that, Ken, because I found myself coming home and working till 9 and 10 o'clock. I mean, just always on, sending emails, answering emails, calling people, setting up appointments, doing work. It continued on. And so I had to, even with my 20-year-old being here, Fridays, if he was at home, that was, our day that we just went out, what we call date night. And so there was one night, week that he came to me, he was like, we're going to go do something. This is date night. I was like, oh, Excuse me, I'm sorry. So, I mean, huge kudos, because those who do have families at home are men. You can see some of the struggle and the things that women go through. So I know there's a whole nother level of appreciation, because it is a job. There used to be a time where they're like, oh, you're at home all day. What are you complaining about? And it's like, oh, okay. And so now that shoe is on the other foot. So I'm glad that has happened, to help people appreciate who they have around them, right? And I think that's one of the bigger things, is that we are appreciating one another so much more. We're appreciating the conversations that we had so much more, just being with one another. And I think this is actually creating an opportunity for people to really think about the things that are, like you said, that are important, and how to appreciate and respect one another.
Yeah, absolutely. I see we have a few minutes left. Murphy, I'm kind of assuming there were no questions. Okay, so what I'd like to do, Lisa, is go around and maybe kind of have each one of you wrap up a little bit. But I think you segued into this really great, in that the ability to appreciate what each of us are going through this in a different way. We've all got different ways that we've been impacted, both professionally and personally, and everything else. And I think there is maybe a newfound appreciation for recognizing people as individuals, and maybe appreciating people a little bit more, and trying to understand, that there's a lot of things going on in everybody's lives. There always has been, but all of a sudden now, I think we're it's out there. We know that about each other.
Yeah, my final thoughts is, I think about, Janae and my partner, and, I'm the person that I come in and I got 50 million ideas and I'm on go. I just am, she'll tell you. And I think she maybe thought that that's how she was, until she saw me start doing things. And so just the ability to be able to dream, to think, to plan, to create is huge. But I've also learned, again, like I said, to appreciate and respect all the people around me and everything that they do, because we all need each other. We all are a piece of that larger puzzle, and we fit somewhere. And I think we're starting to shift the pieces now, and seeing where people fit, and appreciating what they bring to the table, and respecting that. And I think that's something that we lacked in our communities, and we're seeing even more, is that people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect.
Yeah, for sure.
Period. And we have a responsibility to do that. And so this has given us an opportunity to, again, look at things differently, and how we are navigating through our communities, how we're navigating with our families and our friends and the people around us, and not taking those opportunities for granted. And so I'm excited about what's coming, the new things that are happening, businesses that have popped open during this time. I'm excited about, people that have graduated from high school and are going into college, and they're, finding new jobs and they're doing new things. I'm excited about all the great things that are happening, because we don't have time to sit back and think about all the negative. That won't get us anywhere. We have to move forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Devon, final thought.
Yeah, Lisa, you just kind of reminded me of a little analogy that we've used at PhotoUp even before COVID, and it was primarily business related, and that is trying to find the right people on the bus, right? We have a bus, it's moving forward business-wise. We just need to find the right people on the bus and put them in the right seats. I think what I've found personally, and I think a lot of people have found, and what you touched on, Lisa, is that bus got a lot bigger with working from home, right? There are more seats on that bus than you probably thought there were, because your business is now your home life. Your home life is now melding into your business. And my wife is now not only my wife and my partner and the caretaker of our kids, but also my coworker, right? My person that I go to and talk shop at the water cooler, right? The person that I go and have a break with and talk about the things that I'm going through, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly. there are just more seats on that bus than we probably imagined and realized, and finding out who those people are and continuing to keep those people close to you, and build into one another and ask them how their day is, right? Because it's not all about you. You're not driving this bus alone. There are other people on that bus with you to help you get to where you're trying to go. So I think that's what I've kind of realized.
Great. Thanks, Devon. And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this last question, we could drag out another hour, I'm sure, but it's kind of a big question. But I mean, Lisa nailed it. I mean, Devon even compounded it more. I think one thing I'm taking away is the needs of my people, like in a retail environment, are drastically changing, right? I mean, to care for the people, it's different now, right? I mean, there's health safety and there's stuff I don't see at home, right? And those are things that they bring to work now, that before back in the day, my old boss used to tell me there was a magic magnet at the door, and when you walk through the door, you left your personal life at home, right? That whole way of thinking is just gone, right? So I have to look at myself constantly and go, how do I change the way I was brought up? How do I change that? Okay, my home life is there, and I'm happy today, even though I might be miserable at home, right? So there's some tactics there that are still to be defined, but I mean, I was a lot to learn there still. So I'm looking forward to engaging those as this continues.
yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts, really, my heart goes out to the small business community. I just consistently have the small business ecosystem in my mind and my heart and my prayers, because the whole pandemic has been kind of like reverse Darwinism. It's been unnatural selection. We talk about the risks that you take in business, but to have to be on the sideline because of government policy, or because the safety requirements are too expensive, or because there's just too much of a liability in just being open. That is really something that a lot of people, man, don't understand the pressure of what you have to deal with. Those individuals and the essential workers, like the people at Meyer and at the corner stores who have been servicing us, our service industry people, and of course our health professionals. I've been amazed at how strong and resilient the community has been in such tumultuous times. Even downtown, we have the bar coming, and the riots were there, and that stuff was personal to us because we love Grand Rapids, we love our community, but we know that disparities are there. We know that injustice is still pervasive around the country. It's just been so much to go on at one time. Yet and still, we are banding together. We, are finding common ground and still working towards solutions. And I'm really appreciative of that spirit and that energy. And that has kind of been definitive for me, and definitive for my team. Provided us with inspiration, provided us with courage, and just made sure that we had to get up and go, pretty much the gas in our tank and the oil in our engine, in order to be as productive as possible. So, just really appreciative of everybody coming together and acting as a community, from those who have been giving out grants to the businesses, to people just making sure that there are testing sites and all that stuff. I've been amazed at how people have come together.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Well, we could probably go on and on for another hour. I've got stuff that I've been writing down, that like other things I wanted to cover, but we are after our 11 o'clock, and I always try to keep to our schedule. So I just want to say, what?
We'll have to do a part 2.
I know. I honestly think so. This has been so great. Thank you guys so much for taking an hour out of your day and doing this and having this conversation. So I just want to say thanks again. I really appreciate it. And you never know, maybe we will do round 2, because I definitely have more to ask you guys. So.
Love it. Lisa, Murphy, shout out to you guys, and Star Garden too. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Devon, Ken, Jonathan, Laurie, Murphy, for having us on here today.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Thanks.